Hey, hi everyone. So we are going to start a class in some time. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Siddhesh, Gyanjoti, everyone. So we'll wait for some time, maybe 3 4 minutes, and then we'll start. Yeah. So let other joins, and then we'll start the class. Okay, everyone. So I think we are here. Everyone, please ping me in a chat. Vishal is saying today is my first day. Okay, so your first day, and we are going to discuss about the project, Vishal, based on the last class discussion. So in my last class, I talked about Kafka streaming, and even I have shown to everyone that how we can do a Kafka streaming, and then how we can try to create a producer and a consumer, and then in a real time, so how we can pass a message. And we have seen a very amazing example last week. Okay, so shall we start, guys? Everyone, Baba, Visal, Gyan, Jyoti, Siddhesh. There are so many people, but they're not pinging. Why? I don't know why in the chat, but yeah. Shall we start with the class? Okay, so let's get started. Let me share my screen and let me open up my Scribble link. So guys, today we are going to basically talk about a project, and the project is basically a fraud analytics with a real-time streaming data set. So that is something that we are going to see. So fraud analytics with a real-time data set we are going to see. So if I'll talk about the overall architecture and the module of this entire project. So first of all, what we are going to do is, so we are going to create something called as producer. So what producer will do? So it will try to generate a data. So it will try to generate a data, maybe a fraud or maybe a non-fraud data. And that too in a real time. So it will keep on generating a fraud data or maybe a non-fraud data, transitional data into a real time. We are going to send this data into a module Kafka. So inside a Kafka, we are going to send this particular data. Now, once data will be keep on streaming. So this is going to be the real time. So in a real time, it will keep on sending a data continuously without any kind of a stop. It will keep on sending a data into a Kafka cluster in certain topics. Okay. Then from this Kafka, right? From this Kafka, we are going to create basically a consumer inside a Databricks. So we are going to create a consumer by writing a plain Python code, or maybe we can write even a Spark code over here, and we'll try to create a consumer. Now, so whatever data, raw data, which is getting inside a Kafka in certain topics basically in a real time, and you will even see that everything is a real time over here. So I'm not talking about historical data over here. So where I have dumped the data and then I'm trying to do some sort of analytics. No, it will be real time. So in real time, it will keep on pushing a data into a Kafka, and then I'll keep on reading those data on a consumer side into a Databricks. And then, so I'll keep on consuming this data. Then I will try to write my logic to identify whether this data set which I'm consuming is a fraud or maybe a non-fraud. So fraud and non-fraud. Fraud and non-fraud. So this is a place where we are going to write the logic. And then if there is a fraud, right? If there is a fraud, so in that case, we will try to store those data into a mongodb. If there is a fraud, so we'll try to store all of those data set into a mongodb. Once my data set will be available into a mongodb, right? Which is a fraud data, or maybe a process data, you can say. So I can store, depends upon me. So what I'm going to store. So let's suppose I'm going to store a data into a MongoDB. Then what we are going to do is, so we are going to create a trigger basically. So we are going to create a trigger over here. So what this trigger will do? So trigger will try to send a mail on your mail ID. So we are going to see even this particular module over here. So in a real time, if there is a fraud, so generally what banking system does, it is going to send you a mail, it is going to give you a call, or it is going to send you the message. So today we are going to see that we are going to send a mail. So I will be sending a mail from one of my mail account to other mail account with the fraud data. So with saying that this was a fraud detection that I have done, and that too in real time. And this system will keep on running, right? In a real time. So from this place till this place, the entire cycle will be a real time, and we are going to receive a mail in our mail ID. I'll show you in my mail ID, and you can configure it for your mail ID in a real time. So by the time system is going to detect that there is a fraud, immediately you are going to receive a mail within a fraction of a second, and then you can do whatever you want after that. So this is the whole situation that we are going to cover inside this particular project, and that too with a real-time streaming of the data set. Sir, any update? Why late? Okay, are we late? I don't think that we are late. Are we late? I think class timing is 2:15 and I have started a class at 2:15 sharp. Yeah, so Gopi is saying any update while late. Are we late, guys? I don't think so. I have started class on time. Class timing is 2:15. Gyan Jyoti sir is taking back-to-back classes. Must be tired. No, not like that. It's my regular habit. This is what I do. Okay. So fine, guys. Shall we start? Shall we start with this project, the entire cycle? Masood is saying no, sir. So no for what? A late or like shall we not start with this project? Yes, you have started on time, sir. Yeah, I have started on time. Like sharp 2:15, I have started the class. For fraud logic, we are developing DLML. No, Anil. So we are not developing a DLML over here. So we'll be writing if else kind of a statement. So if this is a data which is below my threshold or above my threshold, then do this. So that is a kind of a logic I can try to write. Now, instead of that single logic, right? So if you want to replace that logic with some ML model, you can do that as well. That's completely fine. Just have to replace that and then call the model. That's it. This is the only thing that you have to do. So maybe like in a future classes, I'm going to show you how to do that even with respect to the module. I think we have one project called as sentiment analysis. So anyhow, I have to use some like a NLP model over there to do a sentiment analysis. So I'll try to put in a model as well. But yeah, you can try to put in like any kind of a component that you want going forward. So maybe I'm saying that I'm going to configure my mail over here. So maybe instead of mail, you can try to configure a WhatsApp messages. Maybe you can try to configure some sort of a Slack messages, maybe some sort of a Skype messages. So all those configuration you can try to do. So I'm going to show you with one. Then you can try to replace every component with anything that you want. Anything means literally anything that you want. Yeah. Okay. So let's get started, guys. So this is the architecture, overall high level architecture, right? So high level like a design, I can say. So let's get started. So first of all, we have to create a producer, right? So which will produce a data. So here I'm going to create a synthetic producer. So which will keep on producing a fraudulent data. In a real time, what you can do is you can just try to configure your bank database or any transactional database that you have, and then you will be able to create the producer, because producer is nothing but a kind of a system which will keep on generating a data into a real time, maybe into a batch or whatever, right? So that is something called as basically a producer. And even we have created a producer last time in my previous class. So this is nothing new. So we have already seen how to create a Kafka producer, how to even create a Kafka consumer. So we have seen all those cases in my previous classes. And based on that, this project is basically an extension of that one, right? So extension of that one. So if fraud to MongoDB, if not fraud, where will store the data? See, anyhow, your data set is available into a Kafka topics. So if fraud, let's suppose if I'm saying I'm trying to store data into a MongoDB, even in case of non-fraud, I can try to create another collection called as non-fraud. I can try to store data over there. Maybe I can try to store those data into some SQL system, some warehousing system, right? Depends upon me, basically. Because at the end of the day, I'm able to parse the data. So where I have to store the data, I can decide. So in a MongoDB itself, I can create one collection for a fraud and one collection for a non-fraud. Please share the scribble. Yeah, that will be done at the end of the class. Fine. So now let's get started, guys, and let's spin your system, your Databricks, so that we can get started. So your Databricks is required over here. I can do a coding even in a local system, or and your basically this one. So let me log in to my Databricks, and everyone please log into a Databricks so that all of you can do it with me in a real time. So let me log in to my Databricks. So here is the login. So now I am able to log in into my Databricks account. Okay. So once we are able to log in into my Databricks account, then what we have to do. So let's go to a notebook, right? Or maybe what I can do is, so I can try to go to my workspace over here, and then I can try to create a separate folder over here. So for fraud underscore NALITICS. So one new folder, fresh new folder I'm going to create. I'm going to keep all the notebooks here itself inside this fraud analytics folder itself. So maybe this is the structure which I can try to adopt. So just try to spin your Databricks cluster, guys. So here I can try to create a notebook. So the very first notebook, I'm going to name it, just name it properly, producer of fraud data. Fine. So producer of fraud data. So this is one of the notebook which I'm going to create. Now inside this one, so I'm going to basically like produce a data as much as possible for my fraud data, fraud and non-fraud kind of a data I'm going to produce over here. Now, so whenever we are producing this data from here with the help of Python code, so this is a synthetic data produce which I'm going to do, right? So whenever I'm producing this data over here, now what I can do is I have to send those data into my Kafka cluster, right? I have to send my data into a Kafka cluster, then only the entire things will be intact, and then only I will be able to perform anything that I want. So what I can do is I can try to open up my Kafka cluster. So maybe I can try to log in into my Kafka. So basically Confluent Kafka. Last time we have already created an account and we have even used that particular account. So I'll go inside my Kafka cluster. Just log in, guys. Yeah. So Google sign in. And those who will not be having a Kafka cluster, so maybe I can try to share my topic and Kafka credential just for this class. But after this class, it is not going to work because I'm going to delete my API keys because it is going to cost me, right? It is going to cost me because of that. So fine. So get into a Kafka. One is a Databricks. The another one is basically a Kafka. You have to get into that. And then you have to take care of your MongoDB. So here is my MongoDB, and inside a MongoDB, so I believe we have already configured the cluster in my previous classes, and we already know how MongoDB is going to work. So keep these three things ready, guys. Your Mongo, your Kafka, and your Databricks account. And all of these things we have configured, so I don't think that it's anything new for us, any one of us. Okay, so logged in into my Mongo, logged in into my Kafka, and logged in into my Databricks. Fine. Now, so first thing first, what we have to do is, so we have to go into a Kafka and we have to create a topics where my producer, my program will be able to push the data, keep on streaming the data, keep on pushing the data. So that is something which I'm going to create first. So inside my Kafka cluster, and as per this entire architecture, so I will be creating a producer, and producer will send a data into a Kafka cluster. So my Kafka cluster is ready, right? I just have to create the producer over here. Now to create a producer, so I need a API. So if I need an API, what I can do is I can go to my cluster, right? I can go to my cluster, the cluster which is available to me. And then from a cluster, I have to create my API keys. So for today's class, I'm going to create a new API key. So let's suppose this is my big data class. So for big data class, I have created a new API key. Let's suppose a big data class. This is the name which I'm giving, and I'm going to download my key and my secret so that I will be able to connect with my Kafka. So here is my key and secret, which I'm able to download. This is the latest one. Let me open up. So this is my API key. This is my API secret, and this is my Bootstrap server. So these three things are required to connect with your Kafka cluster. So I have already downloaded this one after creating an API key. Now I'm going to send you my API key for today, those who will not be able to generate, so that you will be able to hit your data inside my Kafka cluster. So this is the API key, then API secret, and this is the Bootstrap server. Now this API key will not be available. So once you will watch the recording, because I'm going to delete my API key, I don't want a cost on my card. I have already added my card over here. So I don't want a cost to come on my card. But yeah, for this class, you can use it. And anyhow, I have already shown you how to create that API key. So nothing new. Fine, guys. Gopi, I think you can understand this part even inside the group, right? So this is not a right place to understand how many years of experience anyone is having. Right, Gopi? So this is the live class, and we already have a dedicated group for big data. So if you are not a part of group, you can ask anyone to give you a link and you can join the group. but I don't think that this is a like a place where you should come and discuss about your experience. Take a live classes, do the project, that is going to help you out. Showing your experience is never going to help you out anywhere, not even here, not even outside. Yeah, hope you understand that part. So maintain that decorum. Now, so Kafka cluster is ready, API key we are able to create. Now start writing a code for a producer. Now before that, obviously you have to up your cluster. So by default, your cluster will be off inside a Databricks. So click and then create and attach. So by default, it will take some time. It will try to create a cluster inside the Databricks. So your machine will spin and then your machine will be ready for a computation. I have used a virtual card. It works. We can check Pioneer. Yeah, you can use anything actually. So you can use anything. Kafka is giving you all the options. You can use any virtual card that you have. Fine, guys. So my cluster is getting ready. As you can see, it's getting started for this particular project. Now what I have to do is, so I have to import a couple of libraries and I have to do some sort of a installation as well. So here, first of all, you have to do installation of pip install, because whatever installation you have done last time, once your cluster will be off, everything will be gone. So you have to do a new installation every time. So here, pip install, and then you can write Confluent, CONFLUENT, Confluent _ KFK, Kafka, and just try to install this. Pip install Confluent Kafka. So as of now, my cluster is still trying to spin itself. So it will take some time. Once my cluster is ready, then it is going to install. Yeah, so now I can see a green button, which means my cluster is ready. So now it will start installing Confluent Kafka. So install a Confluent Kafka inside your system. Pinged you the installation code. Then you have to do pip install faker. So faker is a library. So we are going to use it for faking the data or creating the fake data over here. Or you can say asynthetic data. So pip install Kafka and then pip install faker. So these are the two installations that you have to do inside your cluster. Okay. So this is fine. Confluent Kafka is installed. Now faker is installed over here. Now let's start writing a code one by one, line by line. So here, what you have to do is, so you have to write from Confluent Kafka import producer. So as we are creating a producer, so just try to import that library, then import JSON over here, import random over here. Now from faker, import FAKER, F capital, faker library that we have installed, and then import time. So these are the 4 imports, guys, that you all have to do in a very, very first place. So just try to import it. If everything works fine, then it is not going to show you any kind of an error. Otherwise, you will end up getting an error. So I have already pinged you this 4 imports as well inside your chat box. So import all of these things. Now, once you are able to import, just try to create an instance of a faker. So let's suppose I'm creating fake is equals to FAKER, faker. So this is just like, I'm just trying to like create the instance of this faker. So which I'm going to use it to generate a synthetic data. And then I have to create a configuration. So the same configuration which we have done in last class. So that configuration I have to create. Now configuration will be having all of these things: bootstrap server, security protocol, mechanism, username, and password. So here, bootstrap server wise, so I have to update. This is my old this is my server, but yeah, so API keys and secret is different. So what I can do is, so whatever API key and secret which I have downloaded and shared with all of you, so I'll just try to replace. And I believe this piece of a code is already there with you. So because we have used it even last time. So I'm going to replace my username. Then I'm going to replace my API secret. So my API secret, I'm going to reduce, change, and then my server, Kafka server basically. So this is for a Kafka configuration. So yeah, this is ready. Pinging you the same code. So this is a library import and this is the configuration, guys, we are able to create. And stop me whenever you are not able to follow. Because till this point, I think we have already executed code even in last class. Okay, so faker is run import, then this configuration is fine. Then what I can do is I can try to create a producer variable. So producer, producer is equals to producer, and inside the producer I can try to pass my Kafka configuration so that my producer can try to connect with the Kafka in a real time. It will be able to connect. And then what we have to do is, so we have to create a function which will be able to generate a fake data for me, right? Or I will say not a fake data, but a synthetic data for me. It will be able to generate basically, because I have to send some data into my Kafka cluster and in a real time. So you can try to remove this function and try to call your databases, any databases that you are using, right? And then you can try to pass that particular data as well. That is also possible. So here what I can do is, so here I am going to create a function, and that function name is generate underscore transaction. So generate transaction function I'm going to create, so which will keep on generating a transaction and kind of a financial transaction data it is going to generate. So whenever any financial transaction we do, so we try to like keep a transaction ID. We will be having a timestamp. We will be having a user ID. We'll be having the amount transaction. We will be having a transaction type. We will be having a location or maybe a merchant, maybe a card number, right? So here what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to generate those data with the help of this function. So let me create a variable transaction transaction. So you can name this variable as anything that you want, no restriction at all. And then I will be creating a transactional data over here inside that. So just like a synthetic data I'm trying to create, guys, so that I can keep on sending this data to my Kafka cluster, right? Very first part. So producer I'm trying to create, which will send the data to the Kafka cluster. Now in real time, your producer can be your own databases, maybe your banking databases, but as I don't have a banking databases, or maybe I can even configure and keep a banking data into some of the databases. I can do even that. But yeah, I'm trying to show you this approach. And then in a later stage, I've already shown you how to connect with the Snowflake, how to connect with the MongoDB, attach it. So here I'm just trying to show you one of the new approach. Transaction ID, and transaction ID is nothing but, so I can try to use a faker function. So this is the fake that I have taken. Fake dot, it is going to create UID 4. So this faker is nothing but it's been used to create a fake data. So here I'm just trying to create some sort of a unique ID. So there will be a unique ID function inside this faker library. So I'm trying to create a unique transaction ID every time. Then I'm going to create a timestamp. So timestamp, and then I can use a time function. So time is an import that I have already done, so that it will be able to in a real time. So whenever it is sending a data, it will be able to generate a time that this is the system time, and maybe I can try to keep it as a integer. So timestamp is for the transaction. So this is the transaction ID. This is the timestamp which I will be able to create. Then user ID, because any transaction that we are doing, so that should go through a user ID. So user ID is nothing but random function I have already done as an import. Random dot rand int, and then user ID can be between maybe 10,000 to this number. So just a random number of the user ID I'm trying to create synthetic data wise. Then amount. So what is the amount of the transaction? So let me create it again synthetically. So random dot uniform, and here, so I can try to create a transaction between random fine dot uniform, and then I can try to create a transaction between $5 to or 5 rupees to 5,000 rupees. And maybe I can try to round off this amount till 2 precision, so that I won't be having like a after fraction so many numbers. I will be having just 2 numbers. So I'm creating a synthetic data and then I'm producing it. Then transaction type is a new variable. Transaction underscore type is a new data point which I'm trying to create, and then random dot choice, and transaction type can be, so whenever user is doing a transaction, so that can be a type of purchase, or maybe a money transfer people can do, and maybe people can do a withdrawal. So anything. So that's the reason. So random.choice I have taken. So randomly it will try to pick one of these things. So just a NumPy library. Then location. So from a faker, I can try to generate a fake city. So from which location you are trying to do a data, producing a data. Merchant. So here fake dot company. So fake company name I'm trying to produce over here. And then card underscore number. So fake dot credit card. So credit card number. So fake credit card number I'm trying to produce. And then eventually this function is going to return transaction. So this is the function, guys, I have written, so which will produce the data, right? So if I'm going to execute this particular function, you will be able to see that it is producing a data for me. For example, if I'm going to execute this, and now if I'm going to call this function, just this function, right? You will be able to see that what kind of a data it is trying to produce for me. So I'm just trying to generate the synthetic data in a real time. Random I have written. So random, RANDOM, random. So yeah, as you can see, so I have just executed this function, and this function is giving me some random transaction ID. So timestamp it is trying to give me, user ID it has generated, right? Amount it has generated randomly, transaction type transfer. So out of any of this transaction, it is taking a random choice, and then location it is trying to create, then merchant it is trying to create, and then card number it is trying to create. Again, if I'm going to execute, you will be able to see some different data, right? Your amount has changed, as you can see. Again, if I'm going to execute, so it is trying to generate us another different kind of a data, right? All sort of a data is different. Again, if I'm going to execute, another data it is trying to generate. Again, if I'm going to execute, so all this data set is technically a randomly data which I'm trying to create. And even in real time, what happens is, so let's suppose anyone is doing a transaction, right? So obviously there will be a transaction ID, timestamp, user ID, amount, transaction type, location, merchant, card number. All those things will be going to the databases. So I'm just trying to simulate that entire process by generating my own data. Is this line making sense to all of you guys? The function which I have written. So what this function is going to do? So this function will randomly generate my transaction data because I need a flow, right? A real-time flow. Yes, everyone? So I'm just trying to generate a random data over here. Nothing much. I'm pinging you this piece of a code, guys, to all of you. Yeah, use it. So producer, and then just do the indentation. So maintain the proper indentation the way I'm maintaining it when you are copying this one. Yeah. So I believe this part is clear what we are doing in this particular part. So I'm just showing you that how we can generate or simulate a same kind of a transactional data that you generally do it while you are doing a card transaction. So whenever you will try to use your card, maybe for a Kafka, maybe for Amazon, maybe for a Swiggy, Zomato, Ola, Uber, right? So what will happen in a backend? So obviously this is something that is going to happen. This kind of a data you will produce, and then that data will go to the server, and then server will try to analyze it. And then based on that, server is going to take the action, right? Banking system is going to take the action. So I need a data, so I'm able to produce the data. Now, once I'm able to produce the data, so what I'm supposed to do? So can I say that continuously? So here I'm just executing this function once. So I have to keep on generating a data, a stream of the data, and keep on sending those data to where? To my Kafka. I should keep on sending this data to my Kafka. So here I can write an infinite loop. So while true means infinite loop I'm trying to write, so that I will keep on sending a data to the Kafka. So it will be in an infinite loop. It will keep on producing the data. So let's suppose here I'm going to call generate transaction function, and generate transaction function is going to give me this data, the data which I have shown you here. And I'm going to store this data into some variable called as transaction variable, TXN variable, transaction variable. So inside this, I'm trying to save this one. and then I'll send this data. I'll send this data to my producer, right? So here I'm going to call my producer, the producer variable which I have created over here, the Kafka producer variable, and producer dot, I can say produce, produce, producer dot produce. So producer will send a data. Now, whenever producer is sending a data, so can I say that I have to send those data in a particular topics into a Kafka? Agree everyone? Last time we have discussed, right? In the last class, Sunday itself. So can I say that whenever we are producing a data, so we have to send those data into a Kafka topics? Quick guys, quick, participate. It's not that difficult. Plus, I have already shown you that part. Yes. So it will keep on sending a data to my Kafka. So inside in some of the topics. So what I have to do is, so I have to go over there and then I have to create a topics. So in which topic I would like to send the data. So go over here. I'll try to click on add topics, and here I'm going to write a topic name. So transaction TXN data. So this is the topic which I'm going to create, TXN data. Remember it, the topic which I'm creating, so that I will be sending this data into my this particular topic, and you will be able to see it. So this is the topic which I have created. Now here, producer will produce the data inside this topic. So I have written the topic name in this particular place, right? And then, right? And then, so whenever we are sending a data into a Kafka cluster, right? So what we are going to send? So we are going to send all of these data one by one, one by one, one by one. So at a time, at one time, so it is going to create this data. So this data I'll send. Then again, I'll send this data. I'll keep on generating this data. I'll keep on sending this data. So here I can write a value. So value means what value I'm trying to store inside my topic. So I'm trying to store basically a transaction. So this is the data. Whatever data I'll get inside the variable, I'm trying to store it. So this data is available into a JSON format. So what I can do is I can write JSON dot dumps, so that I will be able to do a JSON dump. And what data I'm trying to dump? This TXN data. So whatever data which I'm creating from this generate transaction function, I will try to dump it over there. Now, so whenever I'm trying to dump the data, so I have to create a key into a Kafka. So let's create a key. So I'll try to consider basically user ID for a key. So whatever Kafka topic in which we are trying to store the data. So transaction TXN, and then inside the transaction, we are getting user ID. So I'll be considering this user ID as a key. Simple. If you want to skip, you can skip that part. So user ID, and then into what format? So I have to format it into a string format. So in a string format, I'll keep on creating these kind of a keys. So fine. And then we can try to create a callback. So CALLBACK, callback is a parameter. Delivery underscore report, so that it will be able to call back and it will be able to make a delivery report for me. So delivery report callback I have written over here. Okay, same thing like last. Then producer dot flush. So flush the producer, flush all the message that has been sent because I am able to send it, and then time dot sleep. Okay, so sleep for basically 1 second over here, or 1 millisecond, right? So time dot sleep I'm trying to call. So this line is going to send this transaction data, and it will keep on sending my transaction data if everything is fine. So as of now, if I'll go to my producer and inside my topics, there is no data. If I'll click on messages, it's empty. It's completely empty as of now, right? It's completely empty as of now. Now, if I'm going to start it, okay, so someone has already started sending the data, guys, I believe. Yeah, so someone has already started sending the data. Okay. So now here, what I can do is, so I can try to execute this one. And if everything is fine, then, okay, so SRT I have written. So str string. So type conversion Name delivery report is not defined, so there is some spelling mistake. DELIVRY underscore report. Callback wise, I'm trying to call and fine. So I have called this callback. Let me create a delivery report callback function, guys. Okay, so someone is asking even what is a delivery report. So I have written my previous code. Let me code it. I thought that it's available, but yeah. So here I'm going to create a function called as delivery underscore report. It's a callback function I'm going to create, and then it will tell me the message. Delivery report means callback is nothing but the message that we will be able to get after storing the messages. So for that, I'm writing a separate function so that I will be able to see so whether it is able to store the message or it is not able to store the messages. So for that, I'm writing this particular delivery report function. So here, if error, right? If error is not none. In that case, I'm just writing a case that if error is not none, because this callback is going to give you two things, error and messages. So here, if error is not none, so I can try to print that, okay, so error is not none, means there is an error. Message is not delivered to the Kafka. And then I can even try to print those errors over here. So I can try to make it formatted so that I will be able to print the message. Okay, so I will be able to print the error message if there is an error message. Now, else, if there is no error at all, then in that case, formatted string, and then over here, message delivered to, and then I can try to write, or maybe I can try to format message dot topics. So TOPIC, topic name, I can try to print inside my console. Along with that, so I can try to print whatever I want. So maybe a message partition. So in which partition it is trying to store the message. So here I can try to even showcase message dot PRTATION, message partition. So fine. This is basically a delivery report function, which I'm trying to take it as a callback. So whatever message and error which will come as a callback, I'm trying to pass over here. This function will try to analyze, and then it will try to give you a print inside your console. So this is something that we have already done. Now let's try to execute. Last execution failed. So simple or message or partition, spelling mistake. So message dot, so it's PRTITION, PARTITION, partition. And it don't even give me the auto suggestion, so that's a problem. Okay. So now we have started getting this kind of a input, right? As you can see, so in a real time, message delivered to this particular topic, and then in which partition, so I'm able to print it. This is the callback, guys. This is the callback which is coming from the delivery report. This is something which I'm trying to print, topic name and the partition name. So yeah, it's delivering a message. If I would like to print a message as well, maybe I can try to click on interrupt, right? I'm closing this, and then maybe I can try to print my message as well if I want. Fine. So here, let me print that part as well. So here, just print the message that it is trying to store in my console. Message. So execute. If a string, okay, some mistake I have made, comma. I have something extra over here. So this is starting from here, going till here. Message topic. So topic I am printing. That's completely fine. Let me separate each and everything. Maybe this. So this, and then a message. Okay. So now you will be able to see that, okay, so message available into the object format. So I have to convert that into a string format, then only you will be able to see it as of now. So it is trying to show me that message is available into a object format. So you can just try to print like a message and then convert it into a string. You will be able to see that data as well. So it has started delivering a data to my producer. Now I'll go to my producer over here. And now if you will check, so yes, I'm able to get some sort of a data over here. I'm able to get some sort of a data in this particular place. And I believe some of you are also sending a data. Now if you will check the data, so transaction ID I'm getting, amount I'm getting, description I'm getting, date I'm getting, location I'm getting, merchant I'm getting, status I'm getting, card number I'm getting, and then someone has added this from a student. So this is not my message, by the way. Someone else is sending this message. So my message is actually this one: timestamp, user ID, amount, transaction, location, merchant, and card number. But yeah, someone has added their own name over here and they are sending a message to my Kafka producer. So can I say that, guys, that we are able to complete this layer, producer and Kafka? So we are able to send our data from a producer to a Kafka, and I'm running this entire things into an infinite loop. So still it's running, as you can see, still it's running and there is no interrupt. I'm running this entire things into a while loop and it will keep on sending a data. So far, let's go and check how many messages we are able to produce. So 272, if I'm going to replace it, if I'm going to refresh it, I will be able to see some other numbers. So inside my topic, consistently, I'm able to send a data. 488 messages so far. Consumption in last 1 hour, 1542. So yeah, total number of messages, we are able to see that we are able to send, and I believe many of you are able to send a message to my system. How to decode the message? Just write it down inside the string. You will be able to see the message. This is the message, guys. This is the message. Or even what you can do is, so maybe you can try to call a print of this function. So this function, print of this. So even print of txn is going to give you the message, the exact message. But yeah, so this is something which I'm getting from the callback. So fine, we are able to print the messages and we are able to send a data inside my Kafka producer. One part is done. Now the next part. The next part is, so my data, I'm keep on sending my data and still I'm producing it, and I'm not going to stop this one. So I'm not going to interrupt this one. It will keep on running in the same way. I'll leave it, right? I'll leave it so that in a real time, it will keep on producing the data, and even you can leave it from your system. It's anyhow going into your Kafka cluster or my cluster. Now what I will do is I'll try to open up a new Databricks. So just try to open up a new tab, and then inside a new Databricks tab, yeah. So open up a new Databricks tab, guys. Go to your workspace, and I believe we have created a folder. Yeah, workspace, and we have a folder called as for analytics. Inside that, we have created one notebook, and this is running. As you can see the time over here, right? If you will hover, or if you are if you're going to see this tab, so there will be a time symbol you will be able to see. So it simply means that it's still running. Now do one thing, create a new notebook, one new notebook over here. And let's try to name it fraud data processing and storing into Mongo. So this is the name I have given to my new notebook, and still this one is running. So everyone, guys, are we able to run it? Anyone who is facing any issue? If you want me to give you this file, so let me download this file. I'm going to upload this entire file itself so that you can download it now and you can try to execute it. So here is my file, guys, available inside your resource. You can download that file and it's running. So just execute, and then even you will be able to send the data, but you will be able to send the data to my cluster, because here I have given you my credential. Okay. So it's still running, and leave it as it is. And if you will go and check your Kafka, so you will be able to see that still we are able to get a data. If I'm going to refresh it, so I'm just going to see more and more data over here inside my Kafka. So now total message is 956. So every time I'm going to refresh, I'm going to see the new data over here. Okay. Cluster overview, if I'll go over here, so my cluster overview will be too much high. Yeah, so it's literally too much high. So above 1 CKU, so it is going to even cost me, but yeah, that's fine. For a live classes at least, it's completely fine. Okay, so this is my topic, and then this is the text data, and produce, consumption, message. So here, these many number of messages we are able to produce. So go to the new notebook that you have created, and this notebook I have already shared with all of you. Now what we have to do in this particular place is, so we have to process this particular data set at the end of the day. So then we have to store those data into some of the databases. Simple. So I can try to write a very simple small logic over here, and then in a later stage I can try to even expand those logic. So let's try to do some sort of a import. So I have already written the code while doing a preparation for this class. So here is our very first set of the import that we have to do. So libraries, all the libraries you have to import, by the way, and your Kafka configuration, and then your MongoDB configuration. So this is my MongoDB configuration, guys. So where I have a fraud DB, maybe I have created this fraud DB while I was preparing this material. So maybe I can try to write like a txn underscore DB, and then inside that fraud alert data I'm going to save. So this is something which is required to connect. So just try to make a proper indentation. Now here I have to change my Kafka API's key and secret, the API key and secret which I have created today. So let me change it, API key. So API key, it's a today's API key which I have generated. So fine. And then Kafka topic. So topic name was txn data. So this is the topic, txn data, and group ID is anything that you want. So fine. I'm able to change all the required field. Then for MongoDB, I need a MongoDB URI. So MongoDB is URI for my MongoDB is available with me, and which is up and running over here. Now, if you have to create your own URI, I believe I taught you that part as well while using a MongoDB. So connect and then drive, and then here is your URI, right? If you're going to collapse it, so this is your URI, set your password, and then you will be able to connect to your MongoDB. Otherwise, you can connect to my MongoDB. So where inside a collection, it is going to create a DB, and inside the DB, it will be creating a connection, and there it is going to dump the data. Simple. So here is a configuration that I have. Now, once I have this configuration, what I can do is I can try to write a function over here that to check, because we will be streaming a data, we will be taking a data from my Kafka producer, so Kafka topics, and then we will be trying to write some sort of a logic so that I will be able to check whether we have a fraud data, whether we don't have a fraud data. So I'm going to write a function over here, is fraudulent function. Fraudulent, you can give any name. So whatever transaction that I'm going to receive, I'm going to receive whatever messages in a JSON format I'm going to receive. So on that, I'm just trying to write this one. So here I'm going to write one simple logic, and then once I will be able to run this entire things, I will try to write even a complex logic to check all the transaction entities. So here, whatever transaction data that we are able to get, whatever transaction data that we will be able to get. So inside transaction data, we have amount field. As you can see, we have a amount field over here. So in every transaction, there will be an amount. Now, so transaction, and then there will be an amount. So amount divided by 5,000, right? So this is the custom logic which I'm trying to write, that if my amount transaction amount divided by 5,000. So this is something which I'm trying to call as a fraud underscore score. So again, my custom logic, my custom variable, and I'm saying that okay. So I'm trying to create a fraud score, and fraud score, again, I'm writing a custom logic. So amount divided by 5,000 is going to be my fraud score. So return, and why I'm writing 5,000? The reason is whatever amount I'm generating over here, so it will be generating between $5 or 5 rupees to 5,000 rupees. So I'm just trying to create my some custom logic that, okay, fine. So if there is an amount which is a fraction of amount, which is very, very small. So based on that, just try to give me a fraud score. So it will give you fraud score between 0 to 1 anyhow. So because it is going to generate a data between 5 to 5,000. Simple. So here return fraud underscore score. The bad thing about this entire Databricks is it never gives you a auto suggestion, and which makes like writing a code very, very difficult. That's the reason it's a VS Code. VS Code is much better. Okay. So here we are trying to create a function, so which will try to check amount, and then it will try to give me the fraud score. So I'm saying that return a fraud score greater than 0.8. So if fraud score is greater than 0.8, again, just a simple logic, right? I can try to write any kind of a logic that I want. So here I'm going to create a configuration parameter just like this. So here I have created the configuration just like this configuration, because I need a configuration. And here we have already created a variables, right? Multiple variables we have created. So automatically it will try to take those values. So again, server name, protocol, mechanism, username, password, ID, and then reset earliest. So start from the beginning. So here I'm just trying to create a configuration variable. It's nothing but a same thing. But this time what I have done, so instead of writing this direct configuration, so I'm trying to keep just inside some of the variable, and then from variable I'm trying to call it so that I can call it anytime I want. So this is just another way of writing the code, nothing much. So here I'm just trying to keep my configuration, Kafka configuration. And from that variable, it will be able to take server name, API key, group ID, each and everything. Okay, so now what I can do is, once my configuration is there, I can try to create a consumer. So last time I have created a producer. This time I'm going to create a consumer. So consumer, and then I'm going to pass conf so that I will be able to consume the data. And then consumer dot subscribe, and subscribe to what? So subscribe to a particular Kafka topic. So here my Kafka topic is text data. So just subscribe to this text data topic. Simple, right? Text data topic. So now it will start consuming a data from your Kafka. So last time producing the data, this time consuming the data. And then I can try to print maybe a formatted string. So whatever I'm trying to consume as a formatted string, that listening for the message on Kafka topics, and then we can try to keep on printing a Kafka topics, that okay, I'm listening to this particular Kafka topics. So this is just a simple print. It is going to give it to you. Now, so it will consume the data. I mean, it will keep on streaming the data over here inside your database cluster. It will keep on streaming the data. It will keep on consuming the data. Now, once we are going to consume the data, we have to write the logic that, okay, if amount is this, right? If fraud score is this, then do this. Something like that I have to write, that if amount or fraud score is basically this, which I'm trying to give based on the amount. So try to do this. So here what I will do is, maybe I can try to write a code for that. And maybe in an infinite loop, I'm going to execute everything. So let me write a beautiful code over here with the help of, by including exception handling and all the procedure. So here, while true, true, so infinite loop basically, right? So consumer, which is my consumer topic. So consumer dot do a polling. No auto suggestion. Okay, that's fine. So do a polling. So basically polling means nothing but it will wait for the timeout. So once it will like get one message, then it will wait for some time, then it will try to get the another message. So consume.polling and then try to store that thing into a message variable. So here it will get the message first of all. Means the complete JSON file it will be able to get, or the complete dictionary it will be able to get. If message is none, so if there is no messages, then again looking for a new messages. So continue. So it will again go to the while loop. So continue. If message dot error. So if there is a error in a messages, so print basically in a formatted way, Kafka error not able to get the message. And then you can even try to print your message error. You try to print the message dot error error. So whatever message error will be there, so it is going to print it, so that you will be able to see everything into your console. Okay. And then again continue, means start looking for new messages. So every time it will send this loop to the while true, means keep on looking for the messages. So fine. If message is none, we have written. If message there is a error, we have written the code. So it will be error, error, spelling mistake. Okay. Now this is done. Now what we can do is, so we can try to write that if message is correct, means if message is none, look for the message. There is an error, again look for the message, right? Otherwise, write JSON dot load. If both of the case are going to fail, means if there is no error and message is there, right? So in that case, it will fall over here, come to the next line, and then try to get message dot value. So whatever data is available into the messages, try to get it, decode it into a English format, which is technically a UTF-8, UTF-8 format. So try to get all the messages into a UTF-8 format so that you can see it. Fine. So this code is going to load the entire messages if none of this condition is fulfilled. If there is a message, and try to store this message into a variable TRANSCTION, transaction variable, try to store this particular messages. So this message, the entire message is available inside my transaction variable. And even you can try to print those messages, formatted string, and then received message from Kafka is, and I'm just trying to print it. Transaction. So name should be exact. So let me just take it. Yeah, fine. This is the case. So it will keep on printing the messages, the message which it is trying to get from the Kafka. Now we can try to write a logic over here for a fraud detection. So now we are able to get the messages inside my Kafka cluster. So I can write that if is underscore fraudulent. So this is the function that we have written, right? So let me copy the name of the function. So if fraudulent, fine, pass the transaction. So whatever message that we are receiving, just pass that message into this particular function. Fine. This is what we have written over here. So this function is going to take all the transaction, means all the messages, and it will try to extract the amount divided by 5,000. And then I have written this custom logic. This is my own logic. So it's not the logic which is coming from anywhere else. My own logic that, okay, fine. So let's try to create one variable called as fraud score. Now fraud score, I have defined the logic for that this is going to be the fraud score. Okay. So fraud transaction, if this is the case, if this is true, so in that case, basically print that transaction. So that you will be able to see it inside the console. Fraud detected. And then in whatever message, because in every message you will not end up getting the fraud. So just try to print it. Okay. So I'm printing this particular transaction. And then what I'm supposed to do is, so I'm supposed to send this data. So only the fraud data which I'm able to receive. So if this is the case, if this is true, right, then do one thing, collection dot insert underscore 1 and insert what? So insert only this transaction where this is true. So according to my custom logic, so wherever amount of the data transaction divided by 5000 is giving me a score more than 8.8, it simply means that there is a very high chance of the transaction. I can try to reduce that logic, or maybe I can try to reduce the parameter. That's completely fine. So store into the MongoDB. And here, right? So before this, what you'll have to do is, so you have to create a MongoDB configuration, by the way, because I'm trying to call collection.insert1. So obviously I have to create a collection. So till this point, I have a MongoDB URI and I'm able to connect with the MongoDB databases. So here, if you remember from your previous class, so we used to create a client, CLI client, and then client is nothing but Mongo client. And then we try to pass a MongoDB URI so that it will be able to establish the connection. MONGOC capital CLIENT. So Mongo client, and it will be able to establish the connection. Then we used to create a DB, if you remember. So DB is nothing but your client connection, CLIENT, the variable that you have created, CLIENT, the variable, and then a MongoDB database. So this will create a database automatically if there is no databases. And then collection, it is going to create. So collection will be created inside the DB. So this is the collection I want to create. So here, collection. So this is going to establish a connection with the MongoDB with the help of this URI, databases, and collection. So again, nothing new. We have done the same thing even before. So whenever we are receiving a frauded transaction, do one thing, collection.insert1, insert that particular transaction inside the MongoDB. Simple, right? Now, so end of the code, and this will be successfully able to insert the data. So I have written try, so I have to write the except. So except, and then I'm going to call a super class of the exception. So exception exception as E, and then try to print this particular E over here. And I can even write a finally. So if everything is going to fail, still do something. So consumer dot close. So the consumer that we have opened up over here. So just try to close that consumer. Do not consume anything from the Kafka cluster. So this is a simple code, guys. Now, overall, if you try to understand, till this point, there is nothing to understand. Just a variable and a respective values. Now here, simple a Mongo client. Here is a very basic logic which I have written. Nothing much. I'll keep on adding into this logic itself. So based on this logic, I'm trying to segregate like a fraud data and non-fraud data. Based on this very simple logic, I can try to add 10 more logic, which I'll show you at the end of the class, right? So I can write any number of logic that I want on every data set, on every column, or in every attribute that we are trying to pass. So, okay, this will be done. Now, so here I have just written a very simple logic that if function is returning true, do one thing, insert that data into the MongoDB. That's it. So is it making sense to all of us, guys? Yes, everyone? Is it fine? It's a very simple code, right? It's actually going to be json.loads. Someone has asked to the Euron. So yeah, it's a LODS, loads. That's the exact function. Okay, so now if we are able to do this, now execute and let's see whether it's working or not. So if it is going to give me some error, we'll see. So it is trying to assign no module called as Confluent Kafka. Yeah, so this is the new notebook. So what I have to do is I have to install a Confluent Kafka over here. So pip install Confluent Kafka. Then I have to install probably MongoDB as well. So pip install pymongo. No module name Confluent Kafka. Fine. Confluent Kafka is installed. Then pip install pymongo. So let's do the installation. So Mongo I'm installing, Kafka I'm installing. Done. Now execute once again. Let's see. Okay, so we are message fraud score is not defined. Okay, name fraud score is not defined. So fraud score is not defined. In which line? Line it is not trying to give me. So name fraud score. Okay, so this variable name is different. It is getting confused. Now it's same. Okay, execute once again. Okay, so now we have started receiving our data, guys, from my Kafka cluster. And if you will check the data, right, if you will check the data, so here it is showing me fraud detected, and then that data also it is trying to print. So Kafka receiving a message from the Kafka, and then somewhere in between you will be able to see that it has detected the fraud, and it is trying to basically show me that data. Now, as I have mentioned inside my code that if there is a fraud, let's store that data into a MongoDB. Okay. So I'll go to my MongoDB. I'll go and check. Do we have some data inside my MongoDB or not? So where is my Mongo? Yeah. So let me refresh this entire thing inside my Mongo and let's see. So whether we have data or not. So this is the transaction DB it has created, as you can see, right? This is the database name which I have given. This is the database name which I have given, transaction DB, and inside that I have a collection called as fraud alert. So here inside a transaction DB, there is a collection called as fraud alert. Now if you are going to refresh it, you will be able to see some data. So yeah, we are able to see some data. So amount, wherever amount is 4,000, 4,500, 4,300 means below 5,000. No, wherever amount score is less than 0.8. Sorry, wherever amount is greater than, what is the logic that we have written? So wherever amount is greater than 5,000, just try to label it as this one. So if a score is more than 0.8, so anything divided by this one is going to be more than 0.8. So it is going to push the data into your Mongo. And if you are going to check and cross verify, so amount is 7,000. Now 7,000 divided by 5,000. So obviously it's going to be greater than 0.8. So we have a data over here. 6,700. Again, we have a data over here. 4,400. So obviously 4,400 divided by 5,000 must be greater than 0.8. So it is able to show me a data. It is able to send me a data inside this particular place. And still, if you will go and observe, so my Kafka cluster, the producer part, right? So producer is still producing a data. If you will come over here, this is my producer for the Kafka fraud, right? So it's still producing the data. As you can see, the real-time changes. And even I can go to my Kafka cluster. Where is my Kafka cluster? So yeah, if I'm going to refresh it, so I'm keep on producing this data into my Kafka cluster and still it's up and running, right? Now, even this is up and running. So now, as you can see, in a real time, whatever data we are sending, it is trying to bring all those data. It is trying to check whether data set is fraud data or not in a real time, and it's keep on running, right? Because I'm running these things into an infinite loop now. And if I'll go into my MongoDB, if I'll refresh again and again, I will be able to see those data over here. And manually, I can come over here and I can try to cross verify that whether it is inserting a correct data or not. So check the amount part, right? Check the amount part, and based on the amount part, you will be able to see that yes, it is able to insert a data correctly based on the logic that we have given. So now fraud data set, we are able to get it inside a MongoDB. Till this part, it's clear, everyone? So now those who are not able to execute, I'm going to send you the Jupyter notebook file. Yeah, so uploaded the Jupyter notebook file, guys. You can check it into a resource section. So now in a real time, I'm producing the data, means just like a banking system. So banking system will keep on producing the data, keep on sending those data into a Kafka cluster, into a Kafka server. I'm doing the same from one end, from this particular end. And from other end, I'm reading those data. I'm trying to run my logic on top of those data. And then if there is a fraud, I'm inserting those data into a MongoDB collection. If I would like to insert maybe a non-fraud data, right? Not an issue at all. I think I can do it. So I can try to write, so I can try to modify my logic over here a little bit. So else try to do one thing, collection dot insert, insert underscore one, and then insert the transaction data. Insert the transaction data. Now, so it is going to send us data of transaction, fraud data and non-fraud data into the same collection. So what I can do is I can try to create one more collection. So maybe I can try to create a collection and I can try to change the name over here. So underscore non underscore fraud, non-fraud. And here, so I can try to give my new collection name non underscore fraud, non-fraud. So it will keep on creating, it will create two collection. One is a collection, this fraud collection, fraud alerts, and another one is a non-fraud. And this collection name, I can try to pass it over here so that in one of the collection, which is fraud data, it will pass whatever validation it will be having after this. And then inside this, it will try to pass otherwise data. Yeah. So in that case, inside a MongoDB, if I'm going to interrupt it, right? Let me interrupt and let me re-execute. So you will be able to see that I will end up creating two collections. So one means in a Kafka, I have whole data, right? Now inside a MongoDB, I'm creating two separate collections. And then in one collection, there will be a fraud and there will be a non-fraud. So data segregation I'm trying to do so that anyone in a future who would like to do some sort of analysis, they will be able to do it. So execute. Now if I'll go and check my Mongo, yeah, here is a Mongo. If I'm going to refresh it, so I must be having another collection as well inside the same DB. So yes, I have a fraud alert data and I have a non-fraud data as well. So here, if I'm going to check the collection, so yeah, all the non-fraud data I'm able to find out in this particular place. So amount 205, amount 150, so small amounts, right? So these amounts are not a fraud according to my logic, which I have written. So all these amounts of the data, we are able to get it over here. So two collection, one for the fraud data. So here I'm able to do a data segregation as well. So now as per this logic, inside a MongoDB, I'm able to create two collection, fraud, non-fraud. So in a two separate entity, I'm able to store the data set. Now, once I have a data into a MongoDB, means let's suppose I am getting a data into a fraud, I have to generate the alarm. Alarm wise, what I'm supposed to do is, so I'm supposed to generate an alarm so that it will send a mail into a real time to the stakeholder. So whatever stakeholder that you would like to mention. So let's suppose you would like to send a mail to me as I'm the manager. So you can send a mail to me. So this is a trigger that we have to create. So is this clear, guys, till this point? Yeah. Is it clear? Show the fraud and def. I have already shared the notebook with all of you. So you can download those notebooks from our resource section. Is it clear, everyone? Yes. So now my server is up and running and it is keep on producing the data still. And basically I'm able to segregate and I'm able to dump those data into a MongoDB. Two separate collection, one for the fraud data, one for the non-fraud data. Now, next part we have to build the alert path, the trigger part. So first of all, we all have to understand that how we can send a mail, right? First of all, we have to understand that how we can try to send the mail. That function we have to write. And then obviously I can connect it with the MongoDB. So wherever there will be a fraud, there will be a data into a MongoDB. So just do one thing, use pick those data and send it to the stakeholder. So let's try to build a system. Again, this is a very amazing use case you will be able to find out. A Python code to send a mail, right? A Python code to send a mail. So let's go to Databricks. inside your folder, and let's try to create another Jupyter notebook file. So let's go to your workspace. Inside ddatabricks, I'm going to create another notebook, and this notebook I'm going to name it as a send alert notebook. So this is the third notebook which I'm going to create, and still, okay, so this has stopped. Let me restart once again, interrupt, yes, and then start. So let it like up and running. So it's up and running, it's fine. So both is up and running. So I'm leaving it as it is. Both is streaming. So one producer, one consumer, and then segregating the data and dumping those data into a MongoDB. Now, so I have to create, or I have to write a program so that my program will be able to send a mail. So how I will be able to write a program for such things? Let's try to understand. So here, any mail provider gives you an access where in a programmatic way, you will be able to send a mail. So again, Gmail, most of us are using Gmail. So first of all, I'm going to teach you a Python program by which you will be able to send a mail. And then I will try to attach my MongoDB collection over there, fraud collection over there, so that it will try to send you the message with a fraud data that this is something which I have analyzed as a fraud like a transaction. So here, what you have to do is, so first of all, you have to import SMTP library. So which is going to help you out, standard mail transfer protocol. This is what it means. SMTP means standard mail transfer protocol. So this is a library, inbuilt library inside a Python. Now from email, just import. So email dot mime dot text import mime text. Yep. MIME text. So this is the import that you have to do. So let's execute that import and let's check so whether it's working or not. In between, so both of my system is up and running. So yeah, this is by default available inside my Python. Now here, so whenever guys you have to send a mail, right? Whenever you have to send a mail, so obviously there will be a sender and there will be a receiver. Now, so for a sender, you have to generate a app password, especially for a Gmail, if I'll talk about. So you have to generate the app password so that you will be able to send a mail. So how to generate an app password? Let me show you that process. So here, go to Google and then try to write Gmail app password for SMTP. Okay. So here, how to create an app password? Just click over here. In some of the link, two-step verification turned on, create and manage your app password. So this is a link which it is going to give me. Just search on Google, right? And it is going to ask me for the authentication. And then it is going to create a app password. So I have already created a couple of app password over here. But yeah, so this is how you will be able to create your app password, basically. So just search on Google, because you have to authenticate, you have to authorize, right? To create the app password. So just go over here and then give a name, app name. So let's suppose if I'm trying to create like a Sudhanshu _ fraud _ analytics app. So just try to click on app and click on create. It is going to create a 16 digit of the app password, copy it and keep it somewhere, because it is not going to show you again. You have to come and create it again, right? So create, and again, I'm going to delete it after this class itself, because yeah. So this is like a text it has given to me. So I'm going to copy it somewhere. Maybe I'm going to copy it inside my Databricks itself. Yeah. So this is the 16 digit app password it has given to me. So are you able to create your app password, guys? Otherwise, you will end up sending a mail to me from my mail to my mail. So if you have to send a mail from your side, you have to create your own app password. Are you able to create your app password? Just go to your Gmail, search for app password, and then in single step itself, you will be able to create your app password. So basically, this is a programmatic way by which you will be able to send a data or send a mail, basically. Yes, everyone. And then you have to do something like this, a couple of import you have to do. So let me keep my app password over there. Now, so I've created a variable SMTP server. So it's nothing but a standard one. SMTP port, again the standard one. Email sender. So let's suppose I'm using one of my mail. So from where I'm going to send the mail. Sudhanshu976@gmail. Now app password. So I have to replace my old app password with the new app password. This is just a variable I'm trying to create and remove all the spaces in between. And again, guys, I'm going to deactivate my app password after this class because of security reason. And then receiver. So these are the 5 variables which I have created. Now these are the data inside that. Subject, I'm going to write test email fraud alert system. Now body, so you can mention the subject. So again, it's one of the variable where I'm writing my subject, and then body means I'm writing my message over here. And then you can try to call MIME text, this variable, right? You can try to pass your body is equal to plain. So you can try to pass message subject is what? This subject, right? Message from, so email sender. So from this mail, I'm trying to send the mail, and then to, so email receiver. So this is something that you have to create. Again, sir, so you just have to go to Google and then search for app password. Search for Gmail app password. Okay, so this is something which I am able to create. Now, what I'm supposed to do is, so I have to send the mail. So sender, receiver, app password, all these things are ready. My message is even ready. So what is my subject and what is my body? So everything is ready. So what I will do is I'll just try to write a piece of code so which will be able to send a mail. So smtp lib dot smtp lib dot smtp, and then inside that smtp server, I can try to pass. Server is nothing but a Gmail server because I'm sending a mail from Gmail to Gmail, from Gmail at least. SMTP port, so port number is already defined over there. And then I'll try to store this entire things inside a variable called as server. So this is my server basically, mail server. And then server dot start, start TTLS, time to live basically. So start that. Server dot login. So I'm trying to do a login, right? Because if I have to send the mail, so what do you do? Generally try to log in. So I'm trying to log in programmatically over here. So try to log in. So here I'll be able to log in through my email sender ID basically. And then email password. So email password is nothing but my app password, right? So app password. So login I will be able to do. Now once I'm able to log in into my server, then send mail, SEND, send the mail. So send the mail to what? So email sender, EMAIL, email sender, then email receiver you have to mention, and then message dot as a string. So in a string format, just try to send a message, and then server dot quit. And then maybe for your own observation, so you can try to write a print over here. Testing mail sent successfully. If it has not sent, so maybe you can try to raise a error, exception as E, and then print the error over here. Okay. So basically, I'm not doing anything much over here. So everything will be done by this. So I'm trying to log in, and then I'm trying to send the mail. So sender, then receiver, and whatever variable which I have created. So it will be able to take the data from there and it will be able to send the mail. Now let's try to test it, guys. Let's try to test it. So if I'm going to execute and if everything works fine, I will be able to see that Sudhanshu@Euron.1 is receiving a mail from this one. And this is going to be the body. This is going to be the body and this is going to be the subject. So execute. Subject has no attribute. Start TTLS. Start TTLS. Okay. So I think there is a triple T over here. Testing mail sent successfully. So this program is able to send a mail. Now let's go and cross verify. So I'll go to my Gmail, which is my sscommand976. I'll try to check into the sent basically. So as you can see, 346, right? So current time is basically 346 in my system, and it is able to send a mail 0 minute ago in a real time. And then if I'll go to my official mail, which is tanshu@euron.1. So Gmail over here, I must have received the mail. So yeah, here is a mail I'm able to receive. So it simply means that I'm able to send a mail, right? My mail system is technically ready. The only thing which I have to do is, so whatever fraud which I'm able to get in my DB, mongodb, so I have to fetch that fraud and send it. Making sense to all of us, guys? Sending mail successful. Okay, so let me send you this notebook. Just change with your own app password. So you just have to do like only one thing. Change your sender email, receiver, and your app password. You will be able to send the mail. I have already sent you the notebook. Execute that notebook in your local or in Databricks, doesn't matter at all. Anywhere you can execute that. Even you can open up that into a Google Colab. You can execute over there. Yes. So in a real time, I'm able to send a mail. So my mail system is ready at least, right? My mail system is perfectly fine. It's working and it's ready. I'm able to send the mail. Now what I have to do is, so just have to configure my fraud transaction. So if I'm able to configure my fraud transaction and if I'm able to like send a mail, then bingo, right? Everyone? Yep. Can I say I just have to do that? So after sending a mail, what I have to do? I just have to crawl my MongoDB fraud collection, and then whatever fraud which I'm getting, send that on the other side immediately so that people will be alerted. Yes. Okay, fine. So let's do it. I think it's easy, right, guys? Are you like finding it difficult or it's easy? I think it's easy. It's very, very easy. Just a piece of like a Python code which we are writing. Even previous one was easy. It was not difficult. Yes. Okay. So what I can do is your mailbox will be filled with each fraud DB entry. Not an issue. So I can try to mark it as a spam. So it will go into a spam folder. And then I'll just, so by the time my class is live, it will be filled, right? After the class, it will not be filled. So I can just remove everything. Okay, guys. So now we are able to do that. So let's do one thing. Let's create one function. And what we have to do? So we have to just change a subject and the body. That's it. Subject and the body. So subject wise, something else. Body wise, fraud data. So I have to send basically a fraud data. That's the only thing which I'm supposed to do. Apart from that, I'm not supposed to do anything, right? So subject and body. Rest of the things, rest of the piece of the code is going to be exact same. So okay, change this one and let's try to do some sort of a writing over here. Let's do it. Ready, guys? Everyone? Shall we send a fraud alert to a mail now? Yeah. So here what I have done is, so at the time of preparation of my entire like material, so I have created basically a function, and that function is basically a send email function. So nothing but same thing that we are writing. So let me copy and paste, otherwise I'll have to type the very lengthy one. So here is a send email alert function I'm trying to create. Inside that transaction, now I'm just trying to change the subject. So for alert suspicious transaction detected, and then body wise, so I'm just trying to write all these things in a beautiful manner. So transaction ID, transaction user ID, amount, merchant. So whatever there will be available from a MongoDB, because from MongoDB I'm going to call this transaction, right? And then I'm just trying to maintain a proper body. Like I said, I just have to change two things, subject and body. That's it, right? Subject can be anything, body can be anything. I just have to change these two things. So here, body wise, so I'm just trying to maintain my body. This is just a body, right? Whatever you want, you can just write it. Or maybe you can try to send the plain text over there. That's completely fine. Rest of the things are not changing. So as you can see, rest of the things are not changing at all. It's exactly same. There is no changes in terms of rest of the things. So I'm just changing my subject and body, formatting it. Now, once this subject and body will be done, then what I'm doing is, so I'm trying to attach one more function. So monitor fraud transition function. Now what this monitor fraud transition function will do, so it will try to connect with the MongoDB. It will try to fetch a data, right? It will try to connect with the MongoDB. It will try to fetch the data, and then it will try to send the mail. Very simple, right? So it will try to call this function. It will try to call this function, and then it will try to send the mail. Now, if I have to fetch a data from a MongoDB, so obviously I need my entire Mongo credentials, my Mongo URI, everything I need, right? Everything I need at the end of the day. So fine, I'll just go to my previous code and I'll just try to copy the entire Mongo credential, because at the end of the day, I have to connect with the MongoDB. So just go to the previous code and you can try to take all the Mongo credentials. So this is the Mongo URI, and then all the collections I have. So fraud collection. So basically I will be looking for this fraud collection, right? From a transaction DB, fraud alert. So I'm able to fetch it over here. So entire Mongo credential will be available in my place. Now, once this is done, right? Once this is done, once I'm able to call this one, then there is a function which I have written over here. Monitor fraud transaction. It's a very simple and small function. It is doing what? So monitor a MongoDB for a fraud transaction. So last ID check, none. So keep track of the latest transaction, and in an infinite loop, it will run. So I'm running these things again into the infinite loop. So it is trying to get a collection, find one with the ID, fetch the latest inserted document. So whatever latest document which has been inserted inside the MongoDB. So this is nothing but collection. This collection is coming from where? Your MongoDB, right? So collection dot find one. So finding the latest one, right? And if latest fraud ID is not equal to last check ID, means if we have not sent an alert for the last one, and if it is not equal to that, so in that case, do one thing: new fraud detected, latest fraud, send email alert. Send email alert means this function. And inside that, I'm trying to pass that latest fraud data. That's it, right? Latest fraud data, and update the last check ID. And then I'll wait for like a 10 seconds. So check every 10 seconds. So in every 10 seconds, maybe I can try to make it as a 1 second. So it will keep on checking in every 1 second, and it will keep on sending a fraud alert to my system. This is what it is going to do. So again, a very simple and a basic function. Now just try to attach each and everything all together. So this is fine. I just need this part, SMTP server detail, so that this function will be able to use SMTP server detail, so that here I'm using it, and it's same piece of code, right? It's same piece of code that I have written over here while I'm sending the mail. So all looks good. Now execute it in an infinite loop, and let's see. Crust Mongo client is not defined. Which line, by the way? So 43 number line. Mongo client, Mongo URI. Oh, import issue. Not an issue. Define it then. Now let's see. So no module called as PyMongo. Okay, new notebook, pip install. PyMongo. Okay, done. Now, let's see. Okay, so this is the function. Now I have to call the function. I forgot to call the function. So it will execute when I'm going to call it, right? So let me call it, call this function. This is the only function. This function is calling send email function, by the way. So, okay, monitoring MDB transaction, key error, merchant. So where is a key error? Merchant, card, student. Let me check. I think someone has inserted some different data, send email alert. And then inside that fraud detection and then transaction ID, inside that it is trying to find out a merchant. Okay, so here there is a issue. Merchant. Merchant, MEARCHANT. Merchant was a part of original data. It was MEARCHANT. Yeah, that was the actual name. Now let's see. Key error, fraud reason. So key error is basically fraud reason. What was the actual name which I have given when I was trying to create it? So fraud transaction card number. Join transaction dot fraud reason. Do we have here? Maybe I have not taken that one while creating the publishers. Not an issue. Remove it. Name ME text is not defined. Okay. Name time is not defined. Okay, I have to import all the libraries. Let's import time. Okay, email alert sent successfully. Let me go and check. Can I say that, guys, I'm able to receive the mail, fraud mail? I'm able to create the alert. So now, bingo. Project done. I'm able to receive the mail, a real-time mail I'm able to receive. Yeah. And as you can see, I'm keep on receiving a mails over here, right? See, every time I'm just going to click show, every time I will be having a mail and it's working in a real time. By the time there will be a fraud data observed, mail. Now, is it making sense to all of us, guys? Are we able to do this project or are we able to create a real-time solution? So see, still all of my system is running. So I have actually 3 systems. 1, 2, 3. 1 producing a data and it's still producing the data. If you'll go and check, I have not stopped it. And if you'll check over here, the print, it is still producing the data. You can go and check even into your Kafka. And here, so still it's running. Still it's sending a data into a MongoDB in a real time, right? And here, still it's running. And whenever there is a fraud, email sent, email sent, email sent, email sent, as you can see. And finally, I'm able to see. So far, 12, 13 email I have received. Just imagine. Okay, again, more emails, right? So just see, okay, 16 emails, 16 plus 17 emails I have received just in a fraction of a second, immediately. Yes, all 3 system is up and running for me. I'm able to generate an alert. Now, I think now you got the overall idea. So I can now play with any system that I want, right? Doesn't matter where I'm storing the data, doesn't matter what I'm trying to process, doesn't matter what kind of alert I'm trying to send. Even if I have to configure your WhatsApp, I can configure your WhatsApp easily. Even if I have to configure your mobile number, I configure it. There is a cloud configuration which is available inside the Amazon, right? Which will directly send you a call. So I just have to call one single API, right? And immediately it will send you the call. By the time there will be a fraud, or immediately it will send you or maybe I can try to use a Sensi AI APIs for a WhatsApp messaging, right? So immediately there will be like fraud. You will get a WhatsApp message. How long will there be message in a topic? What will be what if consumer is down? So basically there is a retention period that I have mentioned. So I have kept 1 week of retention over there, right? So before 1 week, if you are able to process it, then in that case, it's completely fine. Now, so even if, let's suppose consumer is going to be down, so I can write a program, just like I have written this alert, right? I can write a program alerting that consumer is going to be down, right? So that someone can come and someone can check that if consumer is down because of so and so reason, so keep it up. And consumer will start processing a data from a Kafka automatically from the last place where it has left. So everything is real time. I can generate an alert for everything. I can configure everything. Just a program, right? Kafka, MongoDB, email. And yes, in between Databricks we are using, right? For processing this entire things. And I can just leave it as it is. I can just leave it for day on day and it will keep on doing its job. And also there is something called as Databricks workflow. Now this workflow, you will not be able to access it in a free version, in a trial version. So you will be able to access it in a paid version. So in a workflow, they have given you the scheduler, basically. So what it will do is it will keep on let's suppose you don't want to process everything in a real time. So what you want is once in a day or twice in a day, you would like to process. Because if I'll talk about the bank data, bank fraud, so obviously I have to process in a real time. But let's suppose I'm talking about the insurance fraud. So I think that is not required in a real time, insurance fraud. So maybe once in a day, twice in a day, once in a week, I can process it. So what I can do is I can just go inside the workflow, schedule this entire file so that it will not run in a real time. It will not consume my resources, because if you're running something in a real time, it's consuming your resources, right? So it will not consume your resources. What it will do is it will simply try to run your files, right? Same process on behalf of you on a scheduled time. Once in a day, twice in a day, once in an hour, whatever I want, once in a year, I can configure everything. Everything is under my control. We will be incorporate that call or WhatsApp in the other project, sir. I can show you. I think, like I tell you, right? So it's just a one line of a code for me. I just have to call the API and pass the alert. Even email, right? If I'll talk about the email, it's nothing actually. So I'm just trying to connect to the SMTP server and I'm creating my app password and sending it. So even in terms of a call and WhatsApp, just not one line, 2-3 line of a code. So user ID, password, and all those things we have to pass. But again, I have to give you my credentials. So it's fine. If I can do email, I can do anything. Sir, can we deploy this into a EC2 instances? Whatever you want, you can do it. Run in a local, run, deploy over there, and even deploy inside the Databricks. Why to go to EC2? You can deploy inside the Databricks itself. It's already deployed. It's already running into a real time. So what I can do is I can just try to go into workflow, configure it. Yeah. So just up to me. I can play with the system the way I want. And hope you all are able to see. This is what I was like to say. See, now I have received 36 plus messages. Just I have checked 57, 58. So this is called as real-time system. Now on every component that I have designed, right? Every component I can replace it with anything else. That's fine. Maybe I can just try to create this entire configuration just by using an IFI. That's also possible. So yeah, continuously I'm receiving a mail on my system. So this is called as reality of the project, guys. So whatever project you are going to do, we are going to do it in this way. Hope it's making sense to all of you. Let me share this notebook as well. This is the last one. And let me share this Scribble ink. Fraud PDF. Okay, fine guys. So I have shared all the material with all of you. So now since last 7 minutes it is running, this system is running. Since last 29 minutes this system is running. Since last 1 hour 5 minutes this system is running. So my Kafka producer is running since last 1 hour 5 minutes, 29 minutes, and then since last 7 minutes all the system is running in a real time. More messages to me. Yeah. Okay, so I can go and check my other system. So if I'll go and check my Mongo, you will be able to find out a lot of data now. If I'll go and check my Kafka, where is my Kafka? Yeah, Kafka. So for consumption in last 1 hour, 46,000 messages. Amazing. Do you have any IoT devices which you can show? See, it's not even a question that I can show it or not, because like I have a complete lab on multiple IoT devices and hardwares. And if you'll go and check my Iron videos, so a lot of experimentation, a lot of things I used to showcase to like over there. But the matter of fact is, a person who is looking into it, so whether they are interested or not, or whether they are able to do it or not. See, showing wise, I can show you everything. But if you are not able to replicate it, now what is the meaning of showing you? So even in Euron, so I used to teach like a lot of like IoT devices, a lot of sensor configurations over there, plus a lot of, I would say, like edge devices. For example, Google Coral or Raspberry Pi or maybe Jetson Nano, Xavier, all those things. And even I productionized a lot of project over there. So showcasing wise is not a big deal for me, guys. But yeah, depends upon my audience as well, right? If you don't have those IoT devices, if I'm going to show you, I'll end up wasting my time. Nothing more than that, right? So if I have a proper audience, obviously I'll do it. Okay, so now let me close the entire system. So first of all, I'll close my mail. The second, I will try to close my consumer, and then I'll try to close my producer. Then I will try to go over here into my Kafka, and let me delete my API keys because it will cost me. Delete. Delete. Delete over here. Delete. So API key has been deleted. Now I have to delete my email app as well. So let me check app password. So delete, delete, and delete, so that no one can access my mail. Otherwise, with app password, anyone can access my mails. If you are a good programmer, then you can access it. Yeah. So end of the story. So many mails I have received, 95, 96 mails just in like fraction of a second. So hope guys, all of you have liked this project. You are going to love this project, and you are going to experiment this project and make awareness about this project to everyone. So just go try to change some of the component, whatever component that you want, and then maybe do some sort of a modification, change some sort of a logics. So again, logic wise, let me show you. I forgot to show you that part. So logic wise, I have written a couple of more logics. Yeah. So logic wise, over there I have shown you just one single logic, but when I was trying to prepare my material, so I have written a couple of logics. Amount is greater than 5,000. Merchant is in blacklist merchant. Location is in a blacklisted location. User ID, for that I have written the condition. User ID in transaction, I have written the condition. So here, like a length of the user transaction. So here I have written a multiple, not just one, but a multiple, I would say, conditions. So based on this, it is trying to decide that, okay, so whether transaction is a fraud transaction or transaction is not a fraud transaction. So likewise, I can write any number of condition as I want. And that depends upon the business, by the way, right? That depends upon the business. But yeah, while I was preparing material for myself, so yeah, this is for your class basically. So this is something that I have like written basically like in terms of a logic. So a multi-logic basically. How much cost while consumption of 40? So I think two EUK it was trying to consume. So maybe like a $1 or something. But yeah, like depends. Maybe less than $1. But if I'll like leave this system up and running for 24 hours, then it will be a huge one. Vishal is saying if someone is watching recording, then where can we find these files which you shared? Everything Vishal, which I'm sharing will be available in resources, even during a live classes and even after the live classes, everything. Yeah. So from day one, you can check whatever classes I have shared the resources, it's available inside the resource section. Link and file, not a text. So the text which I used to ping, that will not be available to you. Chat will not be available to you, but yeah. So link and all the files will be available to you by default. Anytime you can go and check. So, okay, that comes to a end of this project, guys. So how was the project, by the way? Honest feedback. Anyone, everyone. Yeah. How is the project, guys? Can you please show? I mean, like Vishal, please, man, go and it's just like a tab you have to click, and you want me to show that part. I mean, like tomorrow class you will explain other project. Yeah, tomorrow other project. Maja aa gaya. Good sir, Masood, you are great sir, great sir, great, very interesting. Many use cases can come from that project. Yeah, now you can derive n number of use cases out of that. Anil, good. Joey, learn something. Ganesh, amazing. Okay, so hope all of you have learned a lot of things over here. And now from this one, you can try to like create anything, like whatever kind of a system that you want in a real time. Because at the end of the day, it's just a connection, writing a logic, plugging a logic in between, and then after logic. That's it. This is how we build a system. Okay, so with that, guys, thank you so much. It's time now, and take care. See you again in my next class, which is going to happen tomorrow. Again, I'll be discussing about a new project in my tomorrow's class with real time again. Yeah. So when I'm saying project in your big data class, it simply means that with a real time streaming data, something like that, I'm going to discuss. So with that, thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.